Hello everyone, my name is Elizabeth and today I'm going to be showing you 6 easy crochet gift ideas for the holidays. And I feel like a lot of videos similar to this are just like, oh, make a scarf, make a hat. I'm including those things in this video, but I'm kind of like taking them up a notch, whether that's like with color, details, you know, some special fun little stitching. These are not boring gifts, I can tell you that much. And everything minus maybe like 2 things you could probably finish within an hour. They're like relatively small and work up really fast. And if you're in a pinch and looking for something last minute, this is the video for you. All of the supplies and yarn I'm using I'm going to link in the description. Let's get into the video. It bothers me when people say like, let's get into it. But like what, like how else am I supposed to say that? Like, let's go. Let's get started. There's no winning. The first thing is these little mohair bows. So cute, right? So cute. I keep seeing these on TikTok. I think the person who made them originally like made them by knitting or like on a knitting machine or something. But I crocheted these because I don't know how to knit. I made 2 of these little short ones for if you do like pigtail braids or whatever. And then this longer purple one for maybe like a single braid, a ponytail, you know, like a don't worry darling Alice moment, half up half down. Or actually even as like a little gift to bring to a holiday party. I feel like something really common is a bottle of wine, but like make it cuter by wrapping this around the neck of the bottle. It'd be so precious. Or even just using this in place of gift ribbon because it's reusable, which is always good, and you could always make it thicker or longer if you needed, but I think it adds like a fun little personal touch to it. So I started with a 5.5 millimeter hook and lace weight mohair yarn. I tied a slip knot and then chained 19 inches, however many chains that is for you. For the longer purple ones that I showed you, it was 32 inches, but these were shorter, so I chained only 19. And then I chained 2 extra as a turning chain. Working into the 3rd chain from the hook, I'm starting just double crochets all the way down. I apologize that this is out of focus. Okay. And then I tied off my yarn and sewed in my ends just so that they're not hanging out. And then tied it in a bow. Next are these little Airpod case holder thingies. I'm not going to claim that I came up with this because I didn't, but I saw a picture of one of these on Wool Club's Instagram. I'll link their account in the description. And at first I like just copied the photo and tried to figure it out, but then I realized that they make YouTube videos and I followed their tutorial. It's not in English, but there are English subtitles. But I'm going to show you like kind of the general idea of it in a second. I'll also link how to do granny squares. It's kind of long to explain and I want this to be more about like the actual gifts, but anyways, if you know someone who works in coffee shops a lot or like is just always on the go, traveling, flying, whatever, clipping this on like your tote bag or your work or laptop bag or whatever is so cute. I just got these little chrome carabiner circle hook thingies from Amazon for really cheap, and you can just like clip them through, attach it to your bag, and anytime you need to get something out you just like slide it to the side and you can access your goods. I think these are adorable. Maybe if you're giving this gift to someone who's like more mature or like older or just doesn't like color, you could do this in a solid color, maybe something neutral, or even black and white could be super fun. I love pink and like pastel and fun bright colors, so these are a little obnoxious, but you can always make it neutral. These also don't have to be limited to AirPods. If you want to like throw your key fob in here, or maybe your chapstick, or like just your headphones if you don't have AirPods. Obsessed. You'll need any 3 colors of weight 4 yarn and a 4 millimeter hook. So you need 1 granny square with 3 rows, and then another one with 2. And then I worked only one side of the 3rd row on that second one, as you can see. And I'm going to be connecting them as I finish the 3rd row. So what I did was the 3 double crochets of the corner, and then for the 2 chains, one of them is normal, and then one of them you just slip stitch to the back side. And then continue as normal with 3 double crochets. And then normally you would continue in the next gap 3 double crochets, but before you do that, just slip stitch to the other back side to keep securing it as you go. Then I continue 3 double crochets. And then again, before you go into the corner, I'm just quickly slip stitching it to the other gap. Here you can see how they're connecting in those open spaces. Then continue like normal, 3 double crochets. And then for the corner chains, normally you just do 2 normal, but I'm doing 1 normal and then slip stitching to the back side, continuing 3 double crochets like normal, still in the corner. So I did that all the way across 3 sides, leaving one side open so that the pouch can be open. And I'm slip stitching back to my first stitch to create a full round. And then from there, I keep my yarn attached, I chain 1, and I'm working back loop single crochets all the way across the front and back. And then once you get to this corner, instead of working back loops, I'm just working into the open space, working into the open space, and working into the open space. And then I continue into the top of those double crochets, the back loop single crochets. Finishing the row, I slip stitched and chained 1. And all the way back, I'm just doing regular single crochets, no need to do back loops here. And once I do 3 stitches on the front, I'm going to create the handle. So to create the handle, I'm chaining 9. And then I'm looking on the other side where 3 stitches in is, inserting my hook and continuing doing single crochets to attach those chains as the strap. Then I'm working, continuing around single crochets like normal until I get to the 3rd stitch. I'm just double checking as I go. And then I'm chaining 9 and connecting it again on the other side where the 3rd stitch is. And finishing the round by slip stitching to the 1st stitch and chaining 1, turning my work. I'm continuing in those single crochets until I reach where my chain is, and I'm just working single crochets around it. I actually did 10 to kind of stretch it out more than the original 9 so that it creates more of a round shape for the handle. And then once I do 10 around the handle, I'm just single crocheting back into the actual stitches until I reach the other side. And then I slip stitched back to the 1st stitch, chain to tie off my yarn, and cut that boy off. Next up, I've seen in literally every crochet gift guide video, they're these winter headbands, and not only are they ribbed and super soft and fuzzy and plush, they have this really cool like contrast stitching on the edges, which kind of makes them a little more fun. I think out of everything I made in this video, this was the easiest because it's pretty small scale and the chunkiness of the yarn like makes it work up so fast. And then the stitching is just single crochets. I love these. Again, you can personalize them. You could always make it black and white. You could always make it neutral. For the headbands, you'll need weight 7 and weight 4 yarn for the trim, and then a 9mm hook and a 4mm hook. I'm starting with a slip stitch and inserting my hook. I chained 7 chains. And then I'm chaining 1 additional chain as a turning chain, and then working into the 2nd chain from my hook and starting a row of single crochets. I finish my row of single crochets, I'm chaining 1 as a turning chain, and I'm working back loop single crochets. Once I reach the end, on that last stitch, instead of doing a back loop single crochet, I'm just doing a normal single crochet through the front, and that helps create a more even effect with the ribbing on the edges. And I worked about 19 inches or whatever wraps around your head, and then I'm just slip stitching the back close, working through the same stitch on both sides all the way across. Tying off my yarn, cutting it, and I'm using a smaller hook to just weave those really thick ends through that slip stitch to hide them. Then for the trim, I'm connecting just a regular weight yarn to the top, and I'm chaining to connect that, dropping the tail, and I'm starting really loose single crochets. And you want to keep this loose because the thickness of the yarn we used for the ribbing does not match the thickness of this yarn. So if we did it really tight with the hook, it's not going to allow it to stretch all the way around your head. So just make sure you stretch it occasionally to make sure it fits and it's not too tight. And then when I finish the row, I'm slip stitching back to my first stitch and tying off my yarn, and I did the exact same thing on the other side. The next thing is this beanie. Now, if you've watched some of my other videos, you might be like, Elizabeth, I've seen that before. That is true. This is from my easy ribbed beanie tutorial, but it's not just a boring plain beanie. I've added this really cute scalloped trim to it, also in a contrasting color. I feel like if you wanted it to be more understated, you could just match it to the hat. A hat is such an obvious gift to give someone, so why not make it more personalized and more fun by doing something like this? If you wanted it to be more simple, you could always just do like maybe a little red trim in like single crochet so that it's just like a straight trim and not so like floral looking. It's so easy. It's just double crochet and a slip stitch. This is like a good gift for anybody. Like, I can't think of someone who wouldn't want like a nice hat. Yeah, I literally can't think of anyone who wouldn't want this. For the scallop trim, you'll need any weight 4 yarn and a 4mm hook. So find the back of your hat and connect your yarn. I'm just looping it through, taking the working yarn and the tail and chaining to connect it, pulling it tight, and then dropping the tail. And basically this scalloped stitch, you're just doing 6 double crochet into the same stitch, and then in the next stitch you're working a slip stitch. So here you can see I'm doing 6 double crochet into the same hole. And it helps kind of build up that round shape. And then into the next open space, I'm just working a slip stitch. And then depending on how your hat is ribbed or if it's not ribbed, you can kind of gauge like what stitches you're working into. I'm just showing you here in like the lower part of the rib, I'm working the double crochets, and then right before the raised part of the rib, I'm doing a slip stitch. It doesn't really matter exactly, but you just want to make sure that whatever you choose, you're consistent all the way across so that they're evenly spaced. And I'm just working these all the way around until I reach the end. And my last stitch will be a slip stitch. And I'm tying off my yarn, cutting it, and you can weave it in if you want, but I'm lazy and I just tucked it behind the hat. And there you go. I saw this picture on my Pinterest like months ago of this black and white granny square balaclava, and I kept seeing it on Pinterest. Every time I go on Pinterest, I see the photo, and like I couldn't go on Pinterest without running into the photo. It haunts me. So I was like, I just need to make it. I didn't have black and white yarn, so I just did this really dark navy and cream, and I'm obsessed with how this turned out. Again, for the sake of time, just watch the granny square tutorial in the description because They explain it a lot better than I could. It's just 8 granny squares with 6 rows. I did like 1 of one color and then 2 cream, 2 navy, and then 1 of the other. So it's like 1, 2, 2, 1. But 8 granny squares, I just whip stitched them together in this pattern. There's like 4 along the bottom, 3 in the middle, and then 1 on the top, and I think it's so cool. This might be a good gift for someone who is like a little more into fashion and like not afraid to wear bolder accessories, because this is kind of a very loud piece. I think this will be sick to receive as a gift because it looks really intricate, but it's really not that hard. And I've actually, as I was making this, I started seeing a lot of people wearing them more, so maybe this is like a rising trend. I don't know, I'm not a trend forecaster, but this is cool. And last but not least, oh, what an easy gift you can make someone is making them a scarf. True. But what about a limited edition personalized eliznuts scarf? Come on. Gotta get that eliznuts plug. Comment, like, subscribe. I'm just kidding, but a scarf is so easy. It's a rectangle. Make it as big or as small as you want. Make it as long or as thick as you want. Use whatever yarn you want. Use whatever stitch you want. It's literally a rectangle. But you can add this really dope surface stitching to it, so you don't have to like color change and stuff when you're making the scarf. Too complicated. If you're doing this last minute, you're not going to be color changing. Like, who has time for that? But this is so easy. You just work these like slip stitches through the front and back of the fabric, and you can make whatever you want. I think this would be cool with letters like I did here, but also like maybe you just work like a cool wavy line throughout the scarf, or make a fun pattern, or even you could do like stripes or a trim or whatever. Possibilities are endless. Play with different colors, but instead of giving someone just a plain scarf, make it personal to them. Like, so much cooler. This obviously I'm not giving to anybody, but catch me repping my own at I'm not too proud. For both the scarf and the lettering, I used bulky weight 6 yarn and a 9mm hook. I'm starting with a slip knot, and I'm chaining however many chains equals 11 inches. You totally could make this skinnier if you wanted, but I don't know, I was feeling bold. And then I'm starting with single crochet, so for my turning chain, I'm adding 1, working into the second chain from my hook. And I'm doing single crochets all the way across this row. And then for my next row, I'm going to do double crochet, so I just work 2 chains as a turning chain and then work double crochets all the way across. And that's the pattern for the whole scarf. I'm just doing a row of single crochet, a row of double crochet, a row of single crochet, and so on. And I finished my scarf. Here you can see I'm just weaving in my tails. Now for the personalization kind of slip stitching, I'm just marking out like visually where I think I want a Liz to be, which is the first part of what I'm writing out. And I am connecting my yarn, pulling it through, and you're just working slip stitches, but like vertically. So I stick my hook down through, I grab a loop, here you can see there's 2 loops, and I'm pulling it through my original loop that was up there. And then after you do that 1 stitch, you can flip it over and tie that tail in a knot just so it doesn't come undone. And I'm continuing this. It's almost like punch needling, but I'm inserting my hook down through the scarf, grabbing my yarn, pulling it up through that stitch. And I'm kind of eyeballing where I want this to be. I didn't actually mark it out, but if you wanted to plan it better, you could totally mark it out with like sewing chalk or something. But yeah, you just do this all the way around and then tie it off when you get to the end, and I just weaved in the tails in the back. That's it for the 6 easy crochet gift ideas. The takeaways from this are, yes, you can make something basic and obvious and quick, but like make it personalized. Anybody can just go out and buy a scarf, but first of all, the fact that you made it is super cool, but then taking it to the next level and personalizing it with like colors someone loves or their name, or I don't know, like making it something you really know that they would love is so much cooler, and they're gonna love it that much more. I hope this was helpful. You're gonna be the star of the holiday parties you attend this year, I promise. Showing up with your little mohair bow on a wine bottle. Who wouldn't love that? I'm sorry, I'm done. Subscribe if you want to stick around for more videos in the future, and follow me on TikTok and Instagram at eliznuts, and let me me know what kind of videos you want to see from me in the future. I am totally open to any like recommendations or whatever. Just leave it in the comments. I'm curious what you guys want to see, and I'll see you soon.